Thank you, Presiding Officer. I am pleased to have the opportunity to contribute to this afternoon's debate and support the amendment in the name of Shirley-Ann Somerville. I've been struck listening to the proceedings and the wider conversation provoked by the Phase 1 report of the Enterprise and Skills Review by the water-like habit of politics to find and amplify the smallest of fissures in our deliberations. While I would never challenge the primacy of the dialectic in our discourse, we can only make progress through debates such as this if we resist the temptation to indulge in the narcissism of small differences. I fear, however, that on the question of a strategic board...
Please sit down, Simon.
I fear, however, if I had more time I would. I fear, however, that on the question of a strategic board, that is exactly what some of the opposition are in danger of doing. Now, this would be a reckless approach at any time, but it's particularly so given the economic headwinds we face as a consequence of Brexit and the importance of enterprise and skills to realising the Scottish Government's economic strategy. It is also disappointing because there is, in my opinion, an opportunity for consensus being missed. Presiding Officer, I believe, or at least I hope, that all parties in this chamber are united in support of the Government's vision of a Scotland that ranks among the top-performing OECD nations for productivity, equality, sustainability and well-being. I'm sorry, I don't have time. I certainly hear, week after week, from opposition members in this place, entreaties for action by this Government to improve Scotland's economic performance. I therefore find it rather disheartening that when presented with substantive proposals to see greater coordination and collaboration between Scotland's enterprise and skills agencies, the response of some opposition has been one of dogmatic resistance to any change whatsoever. I'm sorry, I don't have time. It seems to me that the Conservatives, in tabling this afternoon's debate, have yet again become somewhat delirious from the rarefied heights of second-party status and forgotten that opposition should not be reduced to obstination. It is simply not credible on any matter of policy to demand a response from the Government only to then reflexively reject any proposition put forward by the Government. Presiding Officer, I welcome the vision set out in the Phase 1 report of the Enterprise and Skills Review of greater collaboration and coordination between agencies, and I also welcome the contribution that Professor Crader's report makes to the second phase of the review. I also recognise the importance of the role played by the Scottish Funding Council, and I welcome the Government's amendment, which not only recognises the fundamental importance of the Haldane principle, but also the continuing need for a national body for further and higher education. I believe that while it is vital that we maximise the contributions that universities make towards the development of a highly skilled workforce, it is also important to remember the broader cultural and societal value generated by higher education. When studying music as both an undergraduate and as a postgraduate, I experienced many well-meaning individuals question what economic relevance gaining such a skill set would bring. Indeed, it has become the norm for debates on music education across the UK and beyond to be framed in terms of utility rather than its intrinsic value as an art. Now, while it is imperative that our colleges and universities equip people with skills to compete in a labour market that will become ever more competitive, particularly with the continued advance of robotics and automation, it is equally important to remember that education can be an end in itself and not just a means. Presiding Officer, the approach set out by the Government in their amendment, in my opinion, gets the balance right. We must maximise the use of resources at our disposal to ensure that Scotland has a workforce to meet the challenges of tomorrow and ensure economic growth while preserving the independence of a national body for further and higher education.
I'm sorry, you must stop overrunning your time.